Sound Mind presents to you 5 ways to kill your happiness and well-being. Many of us have such behavior without realizing how much they are hurting our happiness and well-being. Keep watching this video to know how to avoid them. Whether we will say that our life is good and happy, or miserable and sad, often depends on how we frame and remember our experience. We can teach ourselves certain principles about happiness, so that we can think of and remember our life events in a more favorable way. Today we will go through these 5 principles, so that you can create positive and happy experience and reflection of your lives. The 5 killer to happiness are the negative bias, duration neglect, social comparison, hedonic treadmill, and lack of self-regulation. The first principle, the negative bias, is a psychological phenomenon where we tend to pay more attention and give more weight to our negative emotions and experiences compared to positive ones. Research has shown that, if being presented equally, one positive and one negative thing, we will tend to remember the negative one more, despite that both things are of equal importance to us. It also means that, experiencing negative events will have more negative impact to us, compared to the pleasure we experience when we encounter positive events. In real life, this means that you are more likely to remember and take the negative things seriously. With this, there are 2 implications. First, is that you will need to pay more attention to positive events and things in life, and be thankful. Count your blessings. Second, is that when negative things happen, be aware of the psychological effect of negative bias, and make conscious effort to give less weight to the negative things. Don't let the bad things weight you down. The second psychological principle, duration neglect, is a psychological phenomenon where the duration of our positive or negative experience doesn't matter on how we experience them. What really matters for us, when feeling and remembering a negative or positive event, is firstly, the intensity of the positive or negative emotions, and secondly, how the experience ends. For instance, when you are going through a dental procedure, as long as the end is less painful, compared to the most painful time during the procedure, we will tend to remember it more favorably. And in this effect, whether it is a 1 hour or 20 minutes procedure, it doesn't matter when forming memories or impressions of such events. The implication, for us, then is to end an experience on a high note. For example, some of us keep our favorite food to the end of eating. We may also end a project well, by having a good celebration with your teammates. Next, when doing presentation, end it on a high note and conclude with a meaningful ending. Lastly, you can end your Friday at work by greeting everyone a good weekend. Also, when faced with negative events, try challenging yourself to think about them in a positive way. The third psychological principle, the social comparison, is a phenomenon where, even if our standard of living is acceptable from an absolute perspective, but if we compare ourselves with our peer group and find ourselves to be lower, then our positive well-being will be diminished. In a psychology research, the participants were asked and presented with 2 living conditions. In condition 1, where you earn $50,000 per year, and others earn $25,000 a year, versus in condition 2, where you earn $100,000 per year, and others earn $250,000 a year. Majority participants in the research are selected to live in condition 1, where they earn only $50,000 per year. They chose to be poorer in absolute value, but richer, relative to others. This shows the importance of social comparison to our well-being. The implication for us is to be aware of this effect, and not to compare ourselves with others. Understand that everyone has their lives to live in, and nobody really understands the circumstances others are going through. The fourth principle, the hedonic treadmill, is a psychological phenomenon where we get adapted to positive feelings and experience quite quickly. There is the tendency for a person to remain at a relatively stable level of happiness despite when there is a change in fortune, circumstances, or achievements. We are back to the baseline of happiness and even adjust our expectations to be higher now. An interview-based study was published in 1978 by Brickman, Coates, and Janoff Bowman. They found that their participants, who just became very rich due to winning lottery, were shown to have similar levels of happiness before and after winning the lottery. Their happiness quickly resumed to baseline level very soon after winning lottery. In another practical example, you find that if you have a salary or pay raise from $1,000 per month to $1,500 per month, you will be happy for a short period of time and then back to the usual happiness point, which is your baseline level. And soon, you will find that $1,500 per month will be the default, and now for you, getting anything less than that might be something sad, since you have raised your expectation. This hedonic treadmill effect is also applicable for happy experiences. For instance, research found that the average person does not experience a lasting boost to their satisfaction after marriage. Their happiness level revert to the baseline beyond the early years of marriage. Nevertheless, the good news is, the adaptation of feelings also apply to bad experience as well. We quickly don't feel so terrible and revert back to baseline of happiness. The implication for us is to know that firstly, material can't buy us happiness forever. Next, don't expect to get into a relationship in marriage in hope that we will gain happiness forever. Instead, explore another routes to well-being. The fifth psychological principle is lacking of self-regulation or self-control, which refers to our ability to control our impulses and channel our effort in order to reach our goals. It is not surprising that the ability for self-regulation is one very rare strength that is also difficult to cultivate. One experiment studying 83,000 adults found that out of the 24 character strengths, the self-regulation scored the lowest. Among many social and personal problems we suffer in this modern world, probably the lack of such trait is one of the root cause. It is rather contrary for you to understand that, to gain happiness, you sometimes need to possess self-control, and to refrain from giving in to your natural desires that usually are your comfort zone. For example, we all know that exercise is good for our health, and create positive hormones of endorphins which helps us to feel good. To have self-control and discipline, and go to exercise will create more happiness to us, than to give in to our comfort and lie as a couch potato. The good news is, the strength of self-regulation is like a muscle that can be built with more use and training. So the next time you are contemplating whether or not to put on your exercise clothes, know that by choosing the option that is beneficial rather than comfortable for you, will bring you happiness and satisfaction. Today, you have learned about the 5 psychological phenomenons that will kill your happiness. Reflect on your life on these 5 facets. Are you doing any of those? If you are, what can you do differently? Leave a comment below, what have you done, and whether it is effective for you. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel, and click the like button, to watch more videos like this.